Hello, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. Hey, Jack. Hello, Sophia. Hi, Shani. Hey, Purple. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. Hey, Mike dropping mom. Hello, Tiger Girl. Placidus, good to see you. Sorry about DLive. OBS wanted to crash on me. Hey, Kristen. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you found my channel. It seems to be hidden. I even I went to look up one of my videos on a live stream I did, the last live stream, and so I put in my channel name, Think for Yourself, and I put the title of the video, and it still didn't come up. Like, how does that work? I don't even think my channel came up. And I don't think any of my videos came up. So, yeah. Hey, Foxy. Good to see you. Hi, Amanda. Thanks for commenting. As long as you're watching, that's all I care about. I know that a lot of people don't like commenting, so, or chatting. I lurk a lot in some live streams as well. Hey, Capri. Every time I see you, you have a different picture. You're so funny. Hey, Lola. Yeah, I was going to stream on DLive, and then I had OBS issues, and I figure instead of doing a watch stream so late, I'll just try to do them at different times. And I know it's not really super early right now, but earlier. Hey, Mark. Hey, Nelly. So again, I don't have like any itinerary planned for the stream, so it's probably going to go how it usually does. I'll say that I'm going to pay attention to the chat, and then I'll end up not paying attention to the chat because I'll get on some sort of rant. I will try to avoid that today, even though I can't promise that. One thing that I did forget to show you guys was I have a couple, or like 2 or 3 videos of body cam footage that I want to play, and just to kind of compare those to the Watts body cam footage. I thank you, Placidus. No, thank you. As long as I'm entertaining, that's all that matters, right? Hey, Matt. Was that your first time in RV Truths? channel, Matt? Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw. I know that the community section or whatever is not the best to always post, because I know that you guys don't get the notifications all the time, and some people don't check it that often. But if you're interested, I posted a link to RV Truth's channel, and he went over with a guest the Surfside collapse in Florida, and it was a really, really good stream. So I highly recommend checking that out, because once again, it's one of those events that are tragic that already have a ton of inconsistencies and holes in its narrative. So just one of those things that just nothing's adding up. So, and although it's a different tragic event than the Watts case, it's still they're still very similar to one another. You're welcome, Nellie. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Yeah, I appreciate all your guys' support. So what did you think, Matt? He's been RV Truth. He's been around for a while, covering these orchestrated events, and especially pointing out the symbolism that they like to put in plain sight that I've been pointing out in this case, in the Watts case. So again, I highly recommend you guys go and check out RV Truth's channel. Let me find the link real quick. Just give me 1 second. Okay, this is the link to the video from last night, but obviously it'll link you to his channel as well. So hey, Robin. Hi, Flathead. I might just call you FHP. I think that sounds better. Or the whole thing. I don't know. What do you think? Well, I don't know. What do you think? You tell me. And and it's I recommend these channels to you guys, because again, it shows that I'm not the only one that's pointing out inconsistencies in these tragic events, in these orchestrated events. So that's kind of like my, I guess, evidence or proof for you guys. Just because it's difficult with these events, just simply because, for one, they scrub a lot of the information from the internet. And again, the Honor Network is one of those organizations, or the organization that you can thank for that. And also, YouTube and Google, they're the ones that are censoring people like myself and RV Truth. Luckily, myself and RV Truth and others we watch what we say, and we know we're always walking on eggshells, but like in his live stream last night, his guest wouldn't even say Sandy Hook either. I'm not the only one that won't say Sandy Hook, and I just said it. So, oh well. But I mean, that's how bad it is, you guys. That's how bad the censorship is on YouTube. So even, RV Truth, he has to reword some things that he says. Sometimes he will say it, and sometimes he won't. But either way, you're still walking on eggshells. So thank you, Purple, for posting my DLive link. Hey, Lou. And again, there are some, of these videos left, but I've mentioned this before. But the Las Vegas shooting, if you look on YouTube for any videos that are conspiratorial or that are questioning the official narrative, you're more than likely not going to find any videos like that left on the Las Vegas shooting. Same with Sandy Hook. And if you do find them, it's because they just probably posted them, and they probably won't be up for long. So you're going to have to go to, other sources to find information about these events. But I can only do so much. I can't, make anybody go over to DLive. But I can't play anything like that on YouTube as far as comparing and showing you guys the similarities between all the events, even though they're all different. So I can't show you a video on here, let's say, for instance, of the Las Vegas shooting, and there's people pushing a wheelbarrow that's supposed to have a victim in it, but it's flopping around like a rubber dummy, clearly. I mean, that's just one example. It's probably not the best example, but I mean, it's pretty bad. And I don't even know if I would be able to find that video. I haven't seen that in a while. So, even on DLive, when I played the Sandy Hook documentary, I was even nervous over there, and luckily I was fine. But those are the things that you guys really need to see. And so if you don't want to go to DLive and follow me over there, then that's totally okay. I don't expect everybody to sign up for all these different accounts, but you guys are going to have to want to search and find this information if you really do want to, fully wake up and see what's really going on in this world with these cases. Because unfortunately, I just don't think that just me is going to wake you up. And sometimes someone will never wake up. So, but the ones who are open-minded and do actually want to ask questions about these things and look at things from a different perspective, then I'm hoping that I can get through to those of you who do. So, or at least, get people to think for themselves and ask questions. So, I'm doing fine, Lou. How are you? Um, can you watch D Live like you do? I don't think so. Not as I mean, unless there's a browser on your TV. Well, actually, like I don't think you can. I don't think they have like Chromecast. I'm not sure. Like I can watch D Live if I wanted to on my TV because I connect it through my Chromecast. But as far as like having an app on like a Fire Stick or something or a Kodi, I don't think so. Yeah, Kristen, it's difficult. Uh, went out. Um, but several of my viewers have said that they didn't even know what a psyop was until they found my channel. So it's pretty much like starting at zero. 509 boom. Hey, Jack. Oh, if you have a browser on your Fire Stick, then yeah, you just have to go to DLive, dlive.tv. Yeah, Nelly, they like to I don't know about the most recent ones, but they like to reuse actors and names as well. So for instance, and it could be a coincidence, but not likely. So after Sandy Hook, there was a woman who started a or became a huge gun control activist and started an organization. And her name, can you guess what it was? Anybody? Anybody? Shannon Watts, who also lives in Colorado. Yeah, that's what they do. They like to they think they're clever. They like to throw it in our faces. And that's what RV Truth talks about a lot as well is just the symbolism in plain sight. And that's I've pointed out so much symbolism with this case. It's overwhelming how much symbolism is in this case. Like I've seen a lot in other orchestrated events, but I mean this is to have predictive programming in every single episode of not every single episode, but every single season of American Horror Story is crazy. Like I still can't even believe it. I mean, there was a lot with 9/11, but 9/11 was also like huge, and more than likely it was planned many years in advance. So they had a lot of things to put their predictive programming into. Now, a lot of it could just be simply because the towers were significant buildings, well known. Um, but then there's a lot that there's no way that is coincidental. But with, and I'm not over exaggerating when I say there's so much. I mean, I'm amazed at how they do it. I really am. And that's the thing is they literally, and that's what I was saying is RV Truth. He talks about the Easter eggs, but how they're literally they put them in plain sight and they're not hiding it. That's the crazy part. But the majority of people have no idea. But once you do know about how they operate and how they use their little symbolism and numerology, the fact that it is put right in our face, it makes it really easy to spot once you know and once you're aware. Oh, you did, Nelly? Oh, good. Yeah, I have two live streams that I did where I actually went over um the American Horror Story connections, and I just literally wrote them out on like a PowerPoint just so that you guys can see. Because I know that the videos, my AHS videos, are kind of, they're broken up into like 6 different videos. So I was, I got the feeling that it's probably not as shocking or doesn't have that much shock value since they're all broken up. So I wanted to put them all in one place for you guys so you can just see them on paper and see how many there like really are. So in those 2 live streams that I did covering um, the connections, there's even more that I didn't put in my videos. So I recommend watching those as well. I mean, they literally. This is just. Um, Again, they literally put it in plain sight. So, um, and it's not like I'm pointing out just like a couple connections, right? Or just a couple um, in American Horror Story. But to have similarities in every single season of American Horror Story, we're talking 10 seasons. And not only that, but it's also the predictive programming connected to a case where shit doesn't add up. So, for instance, like one of the troopers that worked on the case, his name is Officer Ted Bandy. So I just started noticing like just really strange names that were used in this case, right? I mean, yeah, there are strange names out there, like last names, especially. But so what I did is I just started to look up, knowing that the powers that be, the ones that are controlling these orchestrated events, they what's the highways not symbolize, they not idolize, not, I can't think of the word, they names and numbers and words and letters are sacred to them. Sacred was the word I was looking for. um they're sacred to them, and they have a lot more meaning to them than it to the average person normally would. So knowing that, I started to look up these odd peculiar names in the case, and look at the meaning of the last name or and whatnot. But I just started to find these little breadcrumbs that, RV Truth calls them Easter eggs. I call them breadcrumbs. But you have Ted Bundy, and who does that sound like? Ted Bundy, right? Because of course, I say that they put it in plain sight, but if they literally put Ted Bundy, inserted that name into the narrative, that would be probably a little bit too obvious, right? And I don't want to get into too many of the connections, but the connections are I talk about them all the time because they're one of the most important factors in this case, and damning, in my opinion. And whether doesn't matter what narrative you believe or what theory, the fact that there's so much predictive programming in American Horror Story just shows that someone or someone's, right, multiple people knew that this event was going to take place, and that should worry anybody, in my opinion, because there's way too many to say that it's coincidental, especially when it shows up how conveniently on Nate's television. And many people will say, oh, it was a sign from Shanann. It was a coincidence. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. Not when you go and watch American Horror Story and you see how it literally follows the Watts narrative to a T all the way up. They even tell us what happened with Shanann. And again, it's been over 2.5 years now, and I'm still shocked. Foxy, if they continue to release any info, it would be because they're either still trying to push their agenda, or it's because certain channel creators are trying to keep the case, popular and alive so that they can continue to get views. Because you'll notice that, and it's happened several times with this case, right when you think that, the case is starting to die down, there will always be some sort of, breaking news that comes out, right? But then nothing ever comes from it, or new information will be released right when the case starts to die down. And I agree, Mark. Yeah, Al Bundy is definitely the only real one. Hey, Hard Eyes. No one is talking about the major missing pieces and excessive social media coverage for a little girl who lives in a rural area with an alcoholic and neglect. Oh, are you talking about what's her name? Wells? I forgot her first name. Summer Wells. I just saw Amanda's comment. Yeah, I see red flags in that case already. To be honest with you, I would be suspicious of any of these mainstream media stories that are getting so much attention. And that's one of the red flags and characteristics that in that list that I've been beating into your heads, right, for over 2.5 years now, that I said, do what you have to do to whatever you have to do to remember these characteristics and these red flags. Do it. If you have a photographic memory like Mr. Christopher Watts supposedly does, do it remember it that way. Write them down. Take a screenshot. I don't care. Whatever you have to do, but remember them, because they are consistent in all of these fabricated events. And again, they're not going to have all of the same characteristics, but if you see one, then you should probably take a step back and try to think, logically, and try not to think with your emotions, and take a different look at what's going on. Why is this case getting so much attention over other cases? Why is the mainstream media pushing it so much? So then if if it has that characteristic that gains widespread media attention characteristic, and then does that make it necessarily fabricated? No. But when you start to see, more and more of those red flags, that's when you really need to take a step back and definitely look at it from a different perspective, and try to figure out what's going on, because there's a reason for it. And I was thinking about doing a live stream covering that Summer Wells case, but I'm still trying to figure out what in the heck's going on. It took me a while just to figure out who what's her name, Mary Bly or something, which is funny. Lie. Found that interesting, because they like to tell us that they're lying to us too. They like to admit it. Hey, Antoine. So I finally figured out that Bly, and I can't remember her first name, is it Rosemarie Bly? She was the aunt of Summer Wells, right? Right, Jack? You figured it out. Jack solved it. I knew you would. Yeah, exactly, Sophia. And that's why nothing ever seems to come from a lot of these cases, even though it's like, okay, yeah, Chris pled guilty and there's no trial, case closed. But clearly there's many unanswered questions. So when it should be open and shut, but it's not. And someone brought up in a live stream the other day about how the mainstream media is not covering this case anymore, the Watts case. The reason for that, in my opinion, is because the mainstream media has one job, and that's to push that official narrative out to as many people as possible. And that's how you gain that widespread media attention. Because that's all, and you'll hear all the media outlets are doing, they're pushing the same exact narrative. So they're pushing the same narrative and nothing ever seems different about any of it, or they don't have a different narrative at all, then that's another red flag. Yeah, exactly, Christian. Yeah, and that's the whole karma thing that they believe in, although it's whack. They think that if they tell us what they are doing or they plan to do next, and we're too stupid to realize it, then that's our own fault. But they no longer have any bad karma on their hands, even though the majority of people would have no way of knowing what was going on. Hold your speech, Jack. You can give it at the end. And that, yeah, I don't know, Sophia. It's difficult for me to answer like certain questions like that, just because, like, or what happened at Nutgate, or was Nicole Kessinger, was she in the house on August 13th? Did her phone ping? Did her whatever? It's just, I mean, not that I haven't been there, done that with it, and tried to answer all those questions, but knowing what I know about this case, to me, it doesn't matter because none of it's real. Hey, Vincina, good to see you. Long time no see. Hey, Chris. And I also brought this up in another live stream. I think it was Mia's, but a lot of people in the true crime community, not all, but a lot of people believe that there's some sort of cover up going on because of all the inconsistencies, right? So if law enforcement and Michael Rourke and whoever, Bell County, Frederick Police Department, if they are all capable of a cover up, right? If they're going to that much extent to lie to us, or to cover up for somebody, why is it so hard to believe that they would go as far as fabricating the entire thing to push multiple agendas? It's like everyone will come up with every theory in the book to, human trafficking, child trafficking, that the girls were child trafficked. Trafficked. I don't know what that was. Moving on. So I've heard it all. I've heard every single theory. But the minute I mention my theory, it's like, no way. No way. That's impossible. That's absolutely ridiculous. There's no way. It's like, well, again, if they're that capable, if you truly believe that they would go out of their way to cover up for some mistress of some nobody or whoever, if they're that corrupt to do that, then why wouldn't they go a step up and be even more corrupt to again, to come up with this whole thing to push multiple agendas onto the public? I really don't see how that's any more or less possible than any of the other theories going around. And to be honest, I'm as far as I know, I'm the only one that's giving. And I hate to say that because I don't like to sound like I'm being conceited or cocky or anything. But as far as I know, I am the only one that's answering any of these questions that people have been asking for over 2.5 years. As like, why did they release so much information? Why did they not investigate Nicole Kessinger? Why does nothing add up? Why would they do this? Why are they not answering our questions? Did I already say that? Yes. Why are they not answering our questions? Hey, Melissa. And, yada, yada. But it's almost like if it doesn't fit their narrative or if it doesn't fit their theory, then it's like, nope, that's stupid. That's ridiculous. That's impossible. Cognitive dissonance doesn't help either. So. Oh, you didn't, Melissa? I'm not surprised. Are you sure that you have I think that the problem actually is, I don't think it's like, as far as I know, I don't think it's anything like they're red flagged me or anything, but I know that sometimes when I subscribe to a channel, I'll forget to hit the all notifications on that bell. So I actually had to go and make sure that for several channels that I had that all. I don't know what the personal even means, but because it doesn't give you options besides that. So I would just make sure that that all notification is marked, whatever. But yeah, so I mean, I think I have maybe 1, 2, maybe 3 channel. Actually, I take that back. 2 channels where I can actually fully talk about my theory without having to worry about being blocked or timed out or anything. There's a lot of true crime channels. And even on those two channels, I sometimes hold back just because, I don't want to scare off any of their, not that I'm scary, but I just don't want to upset any of their subscribers or their viewers. So, I have a lot of obstacles in my way as far as really trying to get my theory out there, and I'm doing my best. So, and a lot of people will be like, well, Megan, it's easy. Just say what you want to say. Just say what your theory is. It's like, okay, sure. Easier said than done. Okay, cool, Melissa. Yeah, see, let me know if that does work, because I'd be curious to know that. So I'm gonna just grab my drink out of the freezer because I tend to not drink my drinks fast enough and or finish my drinks fast enough. So I have to like put them back in the fridge because I hate warm drinks. And usually I do use ice, but this is a Red Bull, so I don't really like. I don't know why I'm telling you guys all this, but I'm just gonna go grab my drink. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask, and I will do my best to try and answer those for you. And if there's no questions, then we will. I have a couple videos that I want to show you guys as far as like body cam footage. So I'll be right back. Okay, sorry about that. Hey, doing live? Good to see you. And I know I'm not, and I say this all the time, and I know that I probably don't give myself enough credit, but I'm not the best at explaining things, especially when it comes to like the psychological aspect of it and the different, about as far as certain things being certain like the pictures being deceiving, the video footage, like Chris loading the bodies into his truck, right? I'm not the best at explaining the psychological part of that, as far as like, are people just believing that that's what's happening because that's what it looks like and that's what we're being told? And I'm sure there's some sort of like technical term for it, but it just just the other day in another, and actually I'm glad I mentioned that because I wrote this down in notes. I started to take notes so that I would have key points to talk about in these live streams. So just as far as like anything that comes up in other live streams that I'm in. Hey, Coffee. I don't know if I said hello, but if I did not, then I apologize. And if I did, then ignore this. So that got brought up as far as when Chris loaded Shanann's body into his truck, allegedly. The hydraulics on the truck don't move, like it doesn't go down and then back up from the weight. So that whole topic got brought up, and the topic of dead weight. And there was someone in the chat that said, let's see, let me refer to my notes here, so I can tell you what they said. So they responded, and because I said that there's no way that Chris loaded any bodies into his truck. And they said, I can clearly see one of the girls on Nate's footage. And they saw, and they said, I saw what I saw. And I said, okay, if you clearly saw one of the girls, then which girl was it? Was it Bella or Cece? Right? And they didn't like that very much. But actually, I think I took screenshots. Screenshots are great. So that way I'm not, mixing up anybody's words or anything. Let's see here. Maybe I didn't. Okay, here they are. So the person says, you can clearly see the shadow walking towards him, and he lifts her up. And then I don't know if I took the screenshot of what I said, but I said, do you just believe that that's what you see because that's what you've been told? Because that's what the narrative says, or that's what it, because, okay, yes. Does it appear as though Chris is dragging a body, right? He's walking backwards. He's like bent over. Yes, it does. It does appear that way, right? But just because something appears that way, it doesn't mean that that's what's actually happening. So I said, are you just believing that's what is going on because it does appear that way, and that's because what the narrative tells you? And they responded with, negative. I don't believe it because of what I was told. I believe it from what I've seen. And that's when I said, okay, if you clearly saw Chris pick up one of the girls, then was it Bella or Cece? And that's when they proceeded to say, negative. I don't believe it was what I was told. I believe it from what I've seen. I know what I saw, right? So clearly they don't know what they saw, because if they did, they would be able to tell me if it was Bella or Cece, right? Oh, I have so many screenshots. It's crazy. That's the majority of what my photos are on my phone. And I have even more on my computer that I had to transfer. And that's the thing too, Kristen, is they, a lot of people claim that because they see a shadow that it must be Bella or Cece, but it could be anything. And especially with those video cameras, like I've mentioned this before, but I have one similar to that. Unless you have like a really, really, really expensive one, that nighttime footage on those security cameras are not very good. If there's all the time, it looks like if there's any movement or any light in a different area on there, it'll look like there's shadows and certain things that are moving, but all it is just pixelation. It's just the nighttime, again, I'm not like a photography or video expert, but when I see the exact same thing on my security camera, and then I see the same thing on Nate's security camera, knowing that because it's my security camera, and there's times when I thought that there was like certain things or certain shadows, but it wasn't. It's just pixelation. Now, could it very well be a child that he picks up? Sure. But then again, it also might not be, because we can't clearly see it. You can't see anything. I don't care what anybody says. You cannot see anything on that security footage. It's crapola. So when someone argues with me and says, I clearly saw what I saw, and I'm like, no, you didn't. I mean, I don't understand how you can say that you clearly saw a child if you can't even name which one it was. Plus, that doesn't even matter because you can't even see a child. And if he did lift up a child, if any of you guys have kids and you lift up your kid, they're usually about to, if you lift them up, they're going to be almost to your height, right? We don't see that on the body cam footage. So if he picked up Bella or Cece, then why don't we see them higher than the truck? So I don't care what anybody says. You cannot see anything on that footage. And it was done that way on purpose. Because how convenient that bush was there, that tree. How convenient that it just happened to be on the other side of the truck. Positioned just right. So again, are people just believing that that's what they're seeing because that's what they're told? And because, yes, it does appear that way? Or is that what they're really seeing? Are they really seeing actual evidence that that's what's going on in that video footage? And then it's like, you have another channel creator that likes to zoom in on the photo or of a screenshot of the video footage times like 100, right? Or even maybe not 100, even times 10. With that video quality that it's in, or as it is, if you take a screenshot, that's downgrading the quality. And then on top of that, if you're zooming in, that's going to make it even worse. And when you zoom in on anything, you can't see crap, right? But if you have someone that's a channel creator that's apparently super convincing, and they tell you that that's Nicole Kessinger in that blurred out photo, if you stare long enough, and if you want that to be Nicole Kessinger hard enough, did that make sense? I don't think it did. Anyway, if you want it to be Nicole Kessinger so bad, you're going to see Nicole Kessinger in there. Do you know what I mean? You can stare at something and see whatever you want to if you stare long enough. But I'm actually like really shocked as far as like the true crime community of just how many people in it. They literally like they just believe everything they hear. I thought like true crime was supposed to be about looking at the facts, digging into the evidence, discussing it. Yeah, theories are fine, but to literally believe everything you're told, what's the point of being in true crime? Just watch the official narrative or watch the mainstream media then, if that's the case. Like, and now I'm beginning to think that the true crime community is all just about drama. And knowing what I know now about these homicide cases and how they're orchestrating them to push certain agendas. Hey, neck and futs. Yeah, I started earlier today too. Oh, you guys are good. I can't fool any of you. See how smart you guys are? Smart cookies. I thought I was gonna have you fooled. um, but knowing what I know now, as far as I'm pushing these, orchestrating these high profile, and I'm not saying all of them, I'm not saying that murder is not real, but these ones that are getting these sorry, my mic went out on me again. I feel like there's a lot of controlled opposition, especially with a couple, maybe even a few of these channels that have quite a bit of subscribers. That doesn't help as far as getting people to think for themselves. And that's the thing is, I was going to mention this a little bit ago when I mentioned how I'm not the best at explaining things. But to be honest, I'm almost glad that I'm not, because I don't want to be that person or that channel creator who's super convincing and has all the right words to say, because I don't want to convince anybody of what I'm saying. You know what I mean? I want you guys to take the information that I'm giving you and use it and, you know, convince yourselves, or, be able to see it on your own. So again, I'm almost glad that I'm not, even though it's very frustrating at times, because I wish I was better explaining things. Well, that's again also why I tried to, stay neutral and not try not to get worked up about certain things with the case, or be dramatic, because that can only that just sways opinions sometimes, and that's not what I want. I'm trying to just point out consistent things, patterns that are happening over and over again, and the symbolism, and etc. So I definitely don't want to sway any of your opinions. And maybe true crime has been like this the whole time. I have no idea. Again, I say this all the time, that I'm still new, because I've only started covering, I didn't even know there was a true crime community until the Watts case. But again, I'm beginning to wonder if it is even about true crime anymore. But I mean, you have so many people about, like, with the whole Dylan thing that Doing Life My Way just mentioned. It's all I don't even want to say celebrity tabloid stuff, because they're not celebrities by all means. They're nobodies. I don't care what this Dylan guy has to say. I don't care what his girlfriend has to say. I don't care if she goes on Lifetime and says that her dad looks like, I still haven't even seen it. I've just seen the commercial for it. I have no desire to watch it. I don't care if her dad looks like, I was going to say Marilyn Manson, Charles Manson. I don't care. How is that going to help me understand why Chris did what he did based off the official narrative, of course, or how is that going to help me get any further to the truth in this case? Because at the end, it's all hearsay. And not only that, but there these people that are claiming to get this information from Christopher Watts. We all know that he's a liar, whether he be a liar because he's playing a pathological liar as an actor. In RV Truth, he was funny last night. The channel that I brought up earlier, he said he likes to call them, but you have like your A actors, your B actors. So he likes to call them like C and D actors. But so whether he be playing a pathological liar or he's a pathological liar in real life or both, why would anybody believe it? Why would anybody believe, one, what Chris says? Like, I see so many people are like, oh, I want to know what Chris said. I want to read Cato's book because I want to know. I want to get to the truth. Wait, what? I mean, you're talking about someone who's changed his confession multiple times. Apparently likes to watch true crime channels on social media, which is just absolutely ridiculous in my opinion. Like, I mean, okay, like think about it, you guys. I don't know, and I don't usually recommend that people or any of you guys watch any television, but I do watch some shows, and I've watched obviously television in the past. But if you guys have seen any of those lockdown shows, right, where they're like they go through the jails and talk about death row inmates and whatnot, like, have you seen those people? Have you seen those actual like narcissistic psychopathic murderers on that show? Not saying that a murderer or a psychopath has to have the same look or a distinct look, but I mean, literally, like watch those shows and or research and look up some other like mugshots of these other like real life murderers, and then watch the body cam footage of Christopher Watts. I don't even know why I say Christopher Watts. I always say Chris Watts. I don't know why I'm saying his full name now. I'm so weird. Okay. And compare the two. Put them in a picture in picture, side by side, and just literally like take a step back and look at the comparison. I mean, it's not even close, right? Or like, so why would this like psychopathic murderer that killed his entire family with his bare hands, why would he give two shits whether people are just making this up that Chris said that, or whether Chris allegedly supposedly said it? Why would he give two shits what some true crime social media channel creator says about him? Why would the Ruseks give two shits about what some people on social media say, or the Watts for that matter? Yeah, so formal. Hi, Ashley. Or like the Wisconsin interview. Like, why would you have Tammy Lee and Coder, right? And they and I don't know, I guess Baumhover was there. I don't know exactly who was there. They show up to Wisconsin. Oh, and just what a coincidence that there's a character in American Horror Story whose name is Larry, by the way. Just saying. Uh, Larry, who kills the mistress, right? And claims his innocence. And he is sent to a different state to carry out his sentence. Wasn't somebody that we know? Didn't he carry out his sentence and sent to a different state? Weird. But anyway, Capri. Oh, and there just so happens to be a character in American Horror Story whose name is Lana. Lana. Lana and Larry. Go figure. But I'm sure it's just a coincidence. Larry's a popular name. So is Lana. Not really. But so the CBI shows up to Wisconsin. And the first thing we hear on that audio is, "Hey Chris, remember us?" And what is this? Keep in mind, we've been led to believe that this guy, Chris Watts, is this psychopathic, literally deranged, doesn't give a shit about human life, murdered his family with his entire family with his bare hands, right? So when they say, "Hey Chris, remember us?" What does doofus Chris say? He's a doofus. He says, "Oh, hey, yeah, hey, how's it going?" Wait. So these are the people, right? The individuals that put this guy away for the rest of his life and in prison for the rest of his life, right? Took his freedom away from him forever. And they say, "Hey, Chris, do you remember us?" He's like, "Oh, yeah, how's it going? I didn't recognize you for." I mean, again, I don't know many. I don't know any, actually. I'm not gonna say I don't know many. I don't know any uh, family annihilators or murderers. But do you really think that that's going to be the first reaction from this someone who been led to believe? Remember, and I know I sound repetitive, but it's important to be this deranged killer. "Hey, how's it going? Yeah, I had a how's it going, Chris? And did you have lunch today? What did you have for breakfast?" We had a macaroni and cheese. That was good. And I had I really like chocolate milk, but they only had white milk, what kind of, and this is just a couple months or a few months after the fact, right? What kind of murderer just says, "Yeah, sure, hey, I'll spill the beans to the people that put me away"? And talk about the macaroni and cheese being spectacular, or the fact that I was disappointed because they didn't have chocolate milk. I mean, come on. It's staged. The whole audio 100% staged, in my opinion. And I hate to even say that because I'm that confident that that I know what I'm talking about. But again, I don't want to sway any opinions, obviously. And there's several people that have said, well, they went back to Wisconsin to because they're investigating more people, right, or suspects. But if that were the case, then one, why would they ask Chris? Why would they tell him that people on social media were claiming that Nicole Kessinger was involved and that they need to look into Nicole Kessinger. Hey, Kat. Hey, TH. Why would they tell the murderer, right, confessed murderer, that people on social media, I don't know if that's the exact words, but I'm assuming that's who he's referring to, that people think that Nicole Kessinger is involved and that she deleted her text messages and that we need to investigate her. What would you say about that? What? um, why would you ask the murderer if you should investigate somebody? I don't know what kind of messed up psychological bullshit that is, because someone can tell me, but that it makes zero sense to me. Well, it's that's life, Mark. You're in prison. You don't get to have the choices of chocolate or white milk. So keep that in mind next time you want to fake murder your family. Hey, Vicky. So why would they ask if they should look in? Why would veteran law enforcement agents, detectives, ask a murderer if they should investigate someone? And even if it was a tactic, do you honestly think that the person is just the psychopathic murderer is gonna be like, oh yeah, I think you should actually. I'm glad you asked, because that's actually been bothering me since I've been here. Yes, I think you should. You should look into Nicole Kessinger, please, please do. I thought you would never ask. And then not only that, but the entire time, and also in several other interviews, they finish and lead the entire time. So they're trying to claim that they're going there to understand why Chris did what he did, right? To better understand, because he pled guilty, or he confessed, and then they shipped him away, right? That's what they said. So we want to know what we can do in the future in case this happens again. So how can we how can we handle it better, the investigation? So you say that, but then you finish this guy's sentences for him and lead him. So they're like, oh, is that why you did this, Chris? Is that why you decided that you put them in the oil tanks? And then is that why? And how did you feel? Did you feel that way because, it's like they ask, but then they finish his sentences for him? Makes no sense. And then, of all people, they talk about Trent Bolt and Amanda McMahon. Why would they ask Chris about that? Oh yeah, and that's you reminded me, Nuck and Futz. What they say? Oh, and then they said, oh yeah, that Chris is in love with Nicole Kessinger, like is infatuated with Chris, and he's great in the sack, and it's like, what the fuck? Why would you even mention that? That's it. One, she never said that as far as I know, but and then the most I mean, there's several things about that interview that are ridiculous, but at the end, oh, and one, we don't get any video footage. Two, it's terrible audio quality, just like every other audio and video that we get in this case. But Tammy Lee at the end says, hey, Chris, do you mind if I take a picture of you? Hey, psychopathic murder, child killer, woman killer, Chris, fuckface, right? Because that's what we've been led to believe, is that this man is literally insane, right? To do this. Hey, J-Dub. She says, do you mind if I take a picture of you? Just, just I don't remember what exactly she says. Um, just to see what you look, the difference you look like compared to that. I don't know. I don't remember what she says, but she says, do you mind if I take a picture of you? I promise I won't release it to the public or to the media. Right. And what does Chris say? Yeah, okay, sure. Yeah, you could take a picture of me. Like, what the fuck? This is supposed to be a psychopathic murderer killer. And he's just like, yeah, sure, take my picture. Miss Tammy Lee that put me away for the rest of my life. Sure. I trust that you won't do that. And what does Tammy Lee do? She turns around and releases the picture to the public because it's to push an agenda. It's so ridiculous. Yeah, but that's the thing. Doing life my way is it's not like them going back to or them going to Wisconsin helped them look any better. It actually made them look worse, in my opinion. And the fact of the matter is, they don't care how incompetent they look with this case. They don't care if they look like they botched the investigation. That's the whole, not the whole point, but that's one of the reasons. Um, they don't care. That's it's done on purpose, right? If so, for instance, if Anna Darko really like, because I hear people say all the time, Anna Darko is powerful. They wanted this case open and shut. That's why they got Chris to plead guilty or take a plea deal, so there would be no trial, right? But if that were the case, and if Anna Darko's that powerful, and if they really, really wanted this case to go away, simply not having a trial has not made this case go away, clearly, because they released so much information. So if Anna Darko wanted this covered up and gone and swept under the rug, like, in my opinion, they would have made it so that none of this information was released. None of the discovery, none of the body cam footage, no interviews, nothing. If they really wanted this case swept under the rug. But the reason why so much information is released, and I've seen before with the Las Vegas shooting, it's to push agendas. They want us to dig into the case. They want us to bury our heads in the discovery. And knowing that we are going to eventually find out that there's these inconsistencies and these red flags and not answer our questions, the unanswered, give us answers to the questions that they left us with. What do we do as humans? Naturally, we're going to try to find the answers to those questions if we can't get it from the source itself, right? So what have we been doing for the past 2.5 years? Coming up with every single theory in the book with only part of the evidence, right? We don't have all the evidence. And we don't even know if the evidence that we've been given is factual. It would be impossible to solve this case with the amount of information, especially knowing that a lot of it is not true and there's inconsistencies. So, but they know that the majority of the people, the ones who just listen to the mainstream media, the ones who are not on social media in the true crime community, the ones who are not going to delve into the discovery and try to, pick it apart, they know that those people are more than likely are going to simply just believe the official narrative. And subconsciously, whether they ever talk about it again or mention the case, subconsciously, they're still going to know about this tragic event, right? And believe it. But for the people that are in the true crime community and social media, they know that we're going to try to pick this case apart. And it's, there's several factors for it, in my opinion. One is a distraction. So look here, bury your head in the discovery. Don't look over here at everything that's going, that's actually important that's going on around us. And that's why when it seems like the case is dying, this new information will come out, but nothing ever comes from it. They want us to keep us focused on the case and interested in the case to further pursue their agenda. And I've mentioned this before about the Ruseks and what agenda they're pushing, and the explanation for their bizarre behavior as so-called victims. I've seen several attempts that they have made over the months to push this agenda, and that's taking away free speech from social media. They're trying to say that if you ask questions about a case that doesn't add up and that has holes in it, if you go against that official narrative, that's considered harassment towards the victims and bullying towards the victims, when it's absolutely not. Asking questions about a case that doesn't add up is being intelligent and having an open mind and being a critical thinker. But that's what they're trying to claim, is that if you ask questions about a well-documented tragic event, if you ask questions about it, even though it has all these holes in its narrative, that means you're bullying and harassing the victims' families. If you look it up on the Honor Network, that's pretty much word for word what it says. That these victims, these family members, are being harassed because people are talking about the case. But what are the Ruseks doing? They're literally engaging themselves and inserting themselves into social media, and not only that, but the true crime community, of all places, right? These victims that are saying, we don't want to hear people talk about the case anymore. We don't want to hear, like, the person who's responsible is behind bars. There's no conspiracy. So if you don't want to hear it anymore, if you don't want to hear people talking about your daughter and your grandchildren, then stay away from social media. Don't do the exact opposite and literally insert yourself into the true crime community where that's all people do is talk about the deaths of your family based off the official narrative. So they're totally just like contradicting themselves. Like I'm just so surprised that so many people don't see that, for like how obvious it is what they're doing. But again, I know that just because I see it doesn't mean that everyone else is going to see it. Because it makes what they're saying, it's the complete opposite. We don't want to hear it anymore. We don't want to be harassed. Stop making money off the case. Well, then maybe you shouldn't go on Dr. Phil and publicize the deaths. I've said this before, so it's going to sound repetitive, but it's important. Don't live stream the funeral for the whole world to see if you don't want people talking about the deaths in the case. Don't leave your daughter's Facebook account open for everybody to see and watch her videos over and over and over again if you don't want people to talk about your daughter. And definitely don't work with Netflix and give them more video footage and photos and make a whole documentary on it. That's probably the last thing you should do if you don't want people talking about the case. And they'll say, oh no, we don't care if you talk about the case, but stick to the facts. Oh, I don't know. We don't want you talking about the case at all. Stop talking about the case. stop making money off our tragedy. But yet here they are peddling for money for months and months now about claiming they're going to get lawyers to get, to take down these bigger channel creators. Nothing's happened. There's no lawyers. How much money do you need for a lawyer? You can't sue anybody or bring the law into it when people are simply talking about a very public event case. But they're using this whole victim card thing in their favor to push this agenda. Why is either family in communicating with anybody on social media? Why do they give two shits what any of us have to say? Who are we? We're nobody. And not only that, but a lot of the people in true crime do actually want justice. They want to know why these Shanann and the girls aren't here anymore, based on the official narrative. I have to keep saying that, so I don't want it to go against my theory. People are spending hours and hours trying to get justice for these victims, and all the Ruseks are doing is bashing people and saying, stop talking about the case, and we know more than you do, and you'll never know everything that we know, and ha ha ha, I have the fire stick. Oh, and then not only that, they say stop talking about the case, but what does Frank Sr. do on that one channel? Oh, you guys don't know shit. You don't know anything. If you want the answers, I'm going to have the owner of Dirty South on my channel. You can come watch that if you want the true answers. Wait, what? You just got done bitching, saying that you don't want people talking about any of the case anymore, and talking about Shanann and the girls. But now you just added fuel to the fire by saying, hey, come over to my channel if you want to know the true answers about it. The hypocrisy is just off the charts. When have you well, I don't want to say when have you ever, because now I'm seeing it with a lot of these other cases, but that's because I believe that they're orchestrated as well. Too early to tell 100%, but without a doubt, the Watts case is. Without a doubt. It has too many of the same characteristics and the same patterns as other orchestrated events that have happened in the past. That's a great question too, Nuck and Futz. I just actually mentioned that about the Surfside collapse, because there was somebody being interviewed, this guy, twice, and he was wearing an Arizona Diamondbacks hat, but not blurred out. So why don't they have to blur out the Gatorade bottle or the Mountain Dew can? Right? And speaking of blurring, thank you for reminding me, because I got on a little rant there. But real quick, hey, when I would drive Force, they're using this victim card, and there's this, for whatever reason, people believe that because you're a victim, that you're untouchable, or that you're not allowed any scrutiny, or allowed to be called out on your inconsistencies or your contradictions. Being a victim, and I've mentioned this before, and again, it's going to sound repetitive, but it's important. Being a victim, unfortunately, just makes you a victim. Being a victim doesn't make you a good person. It doesn't make you, it doesn't mean you don't lie. For all we know, the Ruseks and the Watts could be serial killers. Who knows? I don't know them. Nobody else knows them. We only know what, and even I don't care if someone says, oh, well, I talk to them now. You don't know them in real life. You know them because of the case. So how do you know they're not lying to you? Well, because they're victims, right? So they're not liars. Poor victims. We only know what the mainstream media, law enforcement, and both families have told us. But if you think about it, there's so many red flags in this case, and there's so many people that are literally pushing an agenda. And if you look at the behavior of both the Ruseks and the Watts, it makes sense what I'm saying to me. But they use that victim thing because for whatever reason, there's this, I don't know the word to use, but it's just the again, the majority of people think that if you're a victim that you are literally untouchable, that you're immune to given immunity to anything. No, I'm sorry, but if I see the Ruseks contradicting themselves and being hypocritical, I'm going to call them out on it, especially when I know that they're pushing an agenda. I don't care if they're victims or not, real victims or fake victims. I'm going to call you out on your bullshit. Because I know that you're pushing an agenda that's going to affect not only me, but many other people as well. And you're using that bullshit victim card. Like if I did something, for example, if I did something terrible to someone, I'm not even going to come up with an example because I don't even want to go there. But let's say I did something terrible, right? And then something terrible happened to me. Does that make me like a good person? And it totally just, uh, delete and do I get a clean slate of the terrible thing that I did prior to me being a victim because I'm a victim? No, it just makes me, unfortunately, a victim. Doesn't make me a good person. It doesn't watch someone's gonna like don't put my words out of or take my words out of context, and then they're gonna be like, it's gonna be me saying, I'm not a good person. No, people aren't that bored. Hey, Aaron. Hey, Pride or Honesty. But yeah, and it's like, what? I mean, look at the whole the 35C thing, which I said from the very beginning that nothing would come from it. Just so you know, and I will toot my own horn about that because I called it. I said nothing will come from the 35C. It's all a distraction. It's all to keep people focused on the case and invested in the case and give people false hope so that they can further push their agenda. And then again, it doesn't help that you have these other channel creators who are literally trying to keep the case open and people invested in it so that they can make money because the Watts case for the majority of channel creators does bring in views, especially if you're talking about drama. But the whole 35C thing with Lana and the Ronnie going to Colorado with her and agreeing to having like they have the whole documentary thing with the credits and everything, the movie credits at the beginning, right? Made by Lana da 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 and whatever and Watts Incorporated, whatever, and it's dramatic music. Like, is this normal behavior? And if you really think your son deserves a fair trial or whatever, are you really going to go and agree to make a mini documentary with some nobody channel creator, or not even channel creator then, but just somebody on social media that's playing an attorney? I'll give Lana credit. She has a notebook full of information. However, this is not something that we would see from real victims. And if, in my opinion, the reason why I also have come to that conclusion is because if they truly were, right, and knowing that there's so many holes and inconsistencies in this narrative, they would be at Rourke's door from the beginning, demanding to know why their loved ones are gone. They would be doing whatever they can to find out the answers to why shit doesn't add up. So why aren't we seeing that from either family? Why are we seeing the complete opposite? Why are they not doing that? Why are they not causing a scene? Why are they not going on every single mainstream media outlet they can, demanding to know why shit doesn't add up in this case? Why are they not trying to sue Anadarko for not having, which they wouldn't be able to, in my opinion, because it's on private property, but it's not the point. Why are they not, making a scene? I mean, because clearly they know. They went on Dr. Phil and said, if we would have known about the shadows and that the girls were alive, we probably would have gone for the death penalty. How could they be fine with knowing that and knowing that Rourke didn't even know what the hell was going on in his own investigation based off the official narrative? Like, if that were me, if I were the Ruseks or the Watts, I'd be like, what do you mean they were alive? You told me that they were all deceased when they left. And now so that gives me doubts about your investigation, DA Rourke. But they're just like, oh yeah, so the girls were alive. If we would have known that, we would have got the death penalty. Gone for the death penalty, right? But now they're more worried about convincing us on social media. Keep in mind, this is all on social media. It's not outside. Nobody else is talking about it. The mainstream media is not covering it anymore because they already did their job. That's their only job, is to push the narrative out to as many people as possible. And once that's done, they don't cover it anymore. If there was really a 35C, don't you think that the mainstream media would have been on top of that real quick? The only mainstream media, if that's what you want to call it, that are covering this case are the Daily Mail and OK Magazine and Lifetime. That's not even mainstream media. But it's all celebrity-like gossip crap. From two news outlets that are not reputable, that are known to fabricate a lot of their information. So it's only contained into social media. So why, one, are the Ruseks and Watts not demanding answers from DA Rourke and Bell County? But two, why are they trying so hard to convince us on social media that there's no conspiracy, that law enforcement did a fantastic job, they got the guilty person behind bars, nothing to see here, case is closed? But then they play their little mind fuck games. Sorry. And, they say one thing, they say on Dr. Phil that they believe that Nicole Kessinger was involved, and then they turn around a couple of months later and say, no, she wasn't. Then they say, talk about the case. Don't talk about the case. Only talk about the case if you stick with the facts. No conspiracy. Don't talk about the case at all. And then they go on, engage themselves into certain channels, they even become moderators, and then say, oh, hey, I have more information than you do. You guys will never know everything that we know. Well, why don't you tell us, Frank Sr., so that we can stop talking about this fucking case? Because it's getting real old. And I'm not staying neutral, and I apologize. Hey, Kate. But the hypocrisy is, and just it drives me, it pisses me off. Because I can see through the bullshit. And it's like, I mean, even the fact is that Frank Sr., he's just, in my opinion, he's a dick. Look at the way he acts to people on social media that are the majority of them, or most of them, or a lot of them, are literally trying to find the answers because they care. And the only thing that Frank Sr., Mr. Victim, can do is laugh and mock us. If you want to know the answers, then you're not going to know because we know them all because we're the family and ha ha ha. Like, kick rocks, Frank, okay? But yet they're victims. Who cares if, oh no, it's because he's upset, Megan, because they're hurting, they're mourning. Bullshit. If you're a victim, you don't treat people like that. If you're truly a victim, you don't like say, ha ha ha, we know the answers and you don't. You're never going to find out. So stop talking about the case. Case is closed. You guys don't know shit. It's pretty fucked up. Because again, a lot of people do truly care and want justice for the victims. But then people make excuses for them. And that's the craziest part. They make excuses for why Frank Sr. is a dick, right? Or sorry, he's a jerk. I'll say that. I take it back. They make up excuses for why they're jerks and their behavior. They make excuses for their unacceptable behavior on social media. Any excuse they can. Oh, because like I said, because they're hurting, because they're victims. Give them a break. They lost their loved ones in a tragic way. You know how many people in this world lose family members in horrific ways all the time? You don't see them on social media pushing an agenda, contradicting themselves, and being hypocritical, do you? No. It's because they have an agenda. Hey, baked cake. Okay, I'm done. There's no excuse. Again, victim or no victim, I just said I was done. There's no excuse to treat other people that way. And especially, and I brought this up before, I have screenshots of them literally mocking and making fun of other channel creators who they have no idea what they've been through in their life or what they've been victim to. Because again, if you were truly a victim, you would not treat people that way. You have no excuses. So now I want to, if it'll play, I don't know, because my internet's still pretty lame, but I want to show you a couple short body cam videos real quick before I end this. Because one of the biggest red flags in this case, and I'm very, very surprised though that not a lot of people have mentioned this, but the fact that not so many, but everyone's personal information in this case was not redacted and it was not protected. So whether it be an employee, a friend of Thrive, Nicole Atkinson, you name it, right? The neighbors, especially in a 3.5 homicide case, I would say quadruple homicide case, and one that's so high profile, personal information needs to be redacted for their protection, right? There's a reason for it. Regardless, if let's say everyone in this case had no problem with their personal information being released, it doesn't matter. There's a statute for it. Like, yes, can you go and look up personal information of people online? But if you don't have their names, then it's difficult to do. But here's a question for you, right? If they had done what they were supposed to do and redact everyone's personal information. Of course, besides Chris, the only person whose personal information is not going to be redacted in a lot of these cases is going to be the victims, because they're no longer here, right? So there's nothing to protect them from because they're not on this earth. And another person would be the convicted, because they're either incarcerated for the rest of their life or they took their own life or they were killed. So there's nothing to protect them from, right? So if they had done what they were supposed to and redact the personal information of people involved in this case, what would we do? What would we do? We wouldn't be able to do anything. We would have nothing to go off of. We would have nobody's information to go and dive down these rabbit holes. We wouldn't be able to look up Jimbo and see where he went to school and where he worked and who he dated and whatever, right? To find all their footprints. We wouldn't be able to look up Nicole Kessinger, whose whose name should have been protected because she's the mistress, right? But I mean, you know how many rabbit holes we've been down trying to find out who the hell Nicole Kessinger is? They redacted her information. What would we have to look up? Same with Nicole Atkinson. Same with any of Troy McCoy. Any of them. If they redacted the personal information of people involved in this case, we would have no rabbit holes to go down. We would have nothing to research. Nothing to come up with theories on who's could possibly be involved, who could be a suspect, who could be an accomplice. Nothing. So it's done like that for a reason, because they want us to bury our heads in the discovery so that we're distracted and so that they can push their agenda, or agendas, I should say. In my opinion, as well, knowing what I know about this case, it's more than likely that it's not even their real names. I don't care if one of them is still on social media making videos and selling a product. It doesn't matter. It doesn't prove or it doesn't disprove my theory whatsoever. If anything, it's only supporting my theory even more. So what would we have to? We would have nothing to do with this case. We would have no information to go off of and dive down those rabbit holes. And not only that, but when we're led to believe that, like I said earlier, that Chris is a psychopathic murderer, even if he's incarcerated, right? You can still get to the outside world. So if you think about it, several of these people that were interviewed, like the coworkers and whatnot, they could possibly be the reason, based off the official narrative again, they could be part of the reason why he is now spending the rest of his life in prison, allegedly. So if he knows that, if he finds out about it, this psychopathic murderer that murdered his entire family, they could still get to the outside world and they could still have some sort of, anger towards them or whatever for possibly being the reason why he's behind bars. But if none of this information is protected, then that's crazy. But considering, if you look at it from my theory, there's no harm, there's no danger, right? There's no danger to protect any of these individuals from, because it's not real. You see what I'm saying? So there's no reason to redact the personal information of anybody involved. There's no danger. There's no threat. There's no psychopathic killer to protect them from. And the reason 1 hour drive for is for so much information. Another reason for so much information being released. The reason why Shanann's Facebook was made public for the entire time, pretty much. It's the whole psychological aspect of it. The PSYOP. It's to pull people in, to draw people in, and again, with all this information, we have so much to look up, so much to investigate. The reason why Shanann's Facebook also is kept public is to pull at heartstrings. How many times have we watched Shanann's videos? Some might have only watched them once. Some have, many have watched them several times. It's to draw people in, to pull at heartstrings, to really, so that people think with their emotions and not logically. Because now there's so many people out there that are like, oh, I feel like Shanann feels like a sister to me. I feel like I knew Shanann and the girls. Because by making all her videos public, she pretty much invited us, in a sense, into her life, right? And then there's some women that can relate to Shanann's trials and tribulations in her own life, with her ailments and her sicknesses and or whatever. Taking the girls to the doctor, fighting with the husband, whatever. And then also seeing Chris in those videos, it draws out more anger for what Chris did. It's all a part of the psychological aspect of it. That's why so much information was made public. And again, with as much information that was, it should be an open and shut case. There's no reason why there should be so many unanswered questions. But they will never answer those questions. It's done on purpose. They want us to, for however long it takes, they don't care if we talk about it and try to figure out what in the hell happened. And not only that, but let's say based off of based off the official narrative, and it was really a cover-up, they don't have to answer those unanswered questions because they can legally lie to us. So the Smith Modernization Act of 2012 made it legal for the mainstream media and the U.S. government to push propaganda and literally lie to the public. Now, they were doing it before that. It didn't matter. They were still doing it. But now they can legally do it, and we cannot get mad. We cannot cause any sort of fuss about it at all. Hey, Swamp Liver. I thought you were talking about my pinky finger. I was like, what? What about my pinky finger? You're talking about Shanann's? Yeah, I know. It's pretty weird. So that Smith-Mundt Act made it legal for them to do that. Whether it be some small local news story that's completely fabricated, all the way up to fabricating an entire homicide case, they can legally do it. And we are not allowed to get mad. Exactly, Kristen. Yep, exactly. So, like I was saying earlier about, I'm very surprised that a lot of people are not questioning the fact that no one's personal information in this case was protected. because it's one of the biggest. To me personally, it was convincing enough for me, pretty much. I mean, I don't want to say just that, but the fact that no one's personal information was protected, when you can go and look up, and not only that, but the fact that they're now going in and slowly redacting this information that they didn't bother to redact in the first place to cover their own asses. So that when someone like me says that they didn't, someone's going to go back and look up the discovery, or they're going to look up the discovery now and say, what are you talking about, Megan? There's personal information redacted. You said in your video a couple months ago that no one's personal information is redacted, because that was then and this is now. So it's going to make me look like a crazy person and do like a whole Mandela effect type thing, but I call it a Wadella. Thank you, Swamp Lover, for posting my DLive link. Because why would they? Why would they not redact anything? And now they're going, they started a year later, and started redacting information from the discovery. It's to cover their own asses, because they've already pushed one of their agendas. Oh, there's a 1 hour drive floors. There's a video, Christmas video, where Shanann is counting on her fingers, and I'm sure there's a logical explanation for it, but it's still freaky. And when she gets to her pinky finger, her pinky bends almost all the way back to the back of her hand. And yes, I know that it's something called, the technical term is not double jointed, it is hyperextension something, but I don't know, it's freaky. It doesn't look like she has any bones there. Then you have another glitch thing where Chris looks, it's just weird. Maybe I'll post that, because now YouTube has these little short videos you can post. I'll post it and see what you guys think. Oh, I love the Nightmare Before Christmas, but the Tim Burton one. Oh yeah, I think you're talking about the Unscrambled channel. I posted it, Amanda, in my community section. Hey, Robin. Hope everything's okay. Hey, Christy. All of them. Big Cake. Everybody. Anybody that's making money off this case. Lavelle profited substantially with the amount of free publicity that they got by keeping Shanann's Facebook public. Millions of people watched her videos. It's like brilliant, in my opinion. You have Comcast, you have Google, you have YouTube, anybody that made documentaries, Lifetime, Netflix, you have Ring Doorbell, Vivint. I mean, you name it. And that's just one agenda, is the amount of money, right? Yeah, and speaking of, I would post a Discord link, but for some reason I can't figure the link out. Oh, that's okay, Swamp Lover, because I think it's expired anyways. Because you can set the links to expire after a certain amount of, well, you can keep it so that it doesn't expire, and then you can set a certain time limit for when it does. So I'd have to reset it anyways, but thank you. Appreciate it. Oh, yes. 1 hour drive Flores. I'm sorry. Are you going to get to it? Yeah, and the quality is horrible in all the recordings and the audio, and it's done like that on purpose as well. And we know for a fact that they've been downgraded. The the pictures, especially of Nicole Kessinger and Chris at the sand dunes, because there was that other channel creator that got those extra ones, like the selfies of Nicole Kessinger and some more at the sand dunes, but those were crystal clear quality compared to the ones that we had when they released at the Discovery. So clearly somebody downgraded the quality. And why? Why would they downgrade any of the audio and video? Especially for I've seen better interrogations from 1970s that had better video quality, and we're talking about 2018. Don't even get me started on the park interview with Nicole Kessinger, because that, yeah, then I really won't play the videos. Okay, let me just pull them up. Oh, when she test drove the Tesla car when they were in Vegas. Yep, exactly, Kristen. Purple and orange, both symbolic in occult, for sure, or by the occult, I should say. Okay, so back to the I don't know, my microphone's cutting out a little bit, but back to the fact that no one's personal information was redacted. Not only should their information be redacted, but especially minors, so children, juveniles, should, I don't want to say always, but especially in a quadruple homicide case, with the amount of publicity that this case got, minors should especially be protected. So why is it that Nicholas Atkinson and Madison Atkinson, why were their faces not blurred on the body cam footage? Why was Nicholas Atkinson's driver's license or his temporary whatever permit, why was it not redacted? Like, huge red flag. We're talking, millions of people seeing this footage. No, there's no the neighbors, she opened the door and her sons were there. Their faces weren't blurred out. Everyone could see the inside of the neighbors' homes, what they owned, how expensive their items were. whether they had a dog, whether they had security cameras, if their husband was in the basement for this many hours a day when they get back from vacation. So now, well, what if with all the amount of people that have seen this footage, what if the wrong person sees that footage and sees all the nice things that woman, Miss Watt, by the way, also same last name but with no S. What if the wrong person sees that footage and goes, huh, this woman, well, her husband appears to be in the basement most of the day doing whatever. He didn't even bother to come up when the police got there. They have no dog. They have no security cameras. All they have is a Ring doorbell. And she's got all this expensive stuff in her house, but yet none of it was redacted. And now, a ton of people know all these, details about this woman. It's not real life. So I found just a couple body cam footage videos. Again, it's not, I have seen footage where, a child's face wasn't blurred out on the body cam. Now, there could be a reason for that, but when you're talking about again, high profile case with so much media attention, for them to not protect a minor's, protect a minor by redacting their faces is crazy. If it is. So let's say that they're like, since I don't know, like a custody case or something, but they need to be able to documents identify who's who. Like even then, they're only supposed to use the child's first last initial of their name. Sorry, I muted myself. I didn't want you guys to have to hear the commercial. Okay, let me try it and see if it doesn't buffer too much. Okay, so just a little background of that video. He was called because this child was found wandering in the street, and apparently it's happened before. I'm still skeptical a little bit because it's the Daily Mail posted it, but that's why I'm going to show you more than one.
This is a horrifying moment inside a Colorado home, and they were all police body camera. A suspect being inside, including children. Officers moving in. Clayton Sandell has more on the dramatic images.
Okay. Tonight, new video show police liquor out in a dangerous standoff. And armed man refuses to come out. Kids won't let them leave. We don't want any bad to happen, guys. I don't.
So I muted it. I don't want to push it as far as copyright goes. But it's not what they're saying it's important. It's the actual video that's important. So there's someone allegedly inside holding these children hostage, right? So they're being a letter to try get the children out. Okay, so notice how these minors, their faces are blurred out for their protection. Thank you, Swamp Lover. Now, granted, these are, well, the first video is not, but the one I just played and the next one are a little bit more of a serious situation. It's not a welfare check. Unfortunately, I can't play examples of welfare check videos that I have because they're part of a show and I don't want to get copyright violations. So oh yeah, and why aren't the Ruseks complaining about all the mainstream media videos that are making money? You could see it, but again, the child's face is blurred out. And I know I sound like an alien robot. So I just have a couple examples, but again, maybe that's different for different scenarios. But I did show an example of one where it was not like a violent scene or whatever, or a scary situation, right? I mean, it's scary that the kid was wandering by himself, but I just wanted to show two or three different examples. Um, I could be baked cake. I could be reptilian. No, I'm going to find the examples from that show that I've mentioned before, that murder tapes, and show you how they blur out the homes, the inside of the homes, and blur out the miners' faces. Since my microphone's messing up and since it's been almost 2.5 hours, I'm going to end this. But wait, did you just agree with Baked Cake Swamp Lover that I'm an alien? Or did I? Or am I? Are you okay? Anyway, I'm not an alien. Okay, gosh. But thanks everyone for being here. Again, I really appreciate it, and I appreciate you guys having open minds and being respectful to each other in the chat. I don't usually have a problem with that because I have a good group of people here. So great group of people here. But yeah, thank you again so much, and thank you to my moderators. I appreciate it very much, except for the ones that are late, but still, I still appreciate it as well. I'm just kidding. But yeah, please follow me on DLive if you are not already, because it's important to see this other content that I'm playing as far as other events that are following the same script here. So again, thank you, and I'll see you guys next time.